Hello there, kids. Today we are going to talk about conductors. Okay, what are conductors? What are good conductors of heat and electricity? Well, basically, the first question should be, what is a conductor? Conductors are materials that allow heat and electricity to pass through easily, because there are materials that won't allow heat and electricity to pass through. Some don't even literal, talagang hindi talaga pinapadaan yung heat and electricity. So, heat conductors are materials that allow heat to pass through, such as metals. Yan talaga yung pinaka-common. No? Metals are actually good conductors for both heat and electricity. Such as, yun na nga, this is a kettle. We actually use this to boil water. No? So, it is a material that we use that helps us boil water. So it is actually a good heat conductor. Okay, and metals in general are good electric conductors as well. This is an example of nails. So this is also an example. This also is a conductor of heat and electricity, as well as mga silverwares, mga spoon forks. And of course, even though this is just a foil, this actually allows electricity to pass through. Okay, because it's basically made from aluminum. Okay, aluminum foil. So, just to parang i-concern lang natin, no, how would this material serve as or allow electricity to pass through? So if you notice that we have a coin here, this actually serves as like a switch. If you still remember our lesson about electricity, no? So this actually serves like a switch. Yung coin ngayon, this is the connection from the battery. From the battery, one part is connected to the light and the other part is connected, in which at this point there is supposed to be a switch here. But as an experiment, we have a coin, which is an example of a conductor, a metal conductor, a conductor, electric conductor, which allows electricity to pass through. So once you're going to tap both wires on both ends ng coin, this will basically work. There will be light, no? So it will work. Kahit hindi lang light, kahit ano pa yung nandyan, source of whatever that is, sound ba siya or ano, it will basically work, because this coin will serve as a switch because it is a conductor which allows electricity to pass through. Heat transfers in three ways. One is conduction, convection, and radiation. If you can still remember, we did this last year. Sa third floor, may candle tayo. I still have photos of that. And so these are the definition. For conduction, the transfer of heat or electric current from one substance to another by direct contact. So if for example, you're heating this parang pan, and then may tubig sa loob. And if you're going to touch this after a few minutes, no, after heating it up, trying to boil the water, you would notice that the handle is warm. Even though kahit may counting plastic siya, you would still feel it a little warm. So what more in this case, kasi wala siyang plastic, walang rubber insulators that basically protects you from heat transfer. So imagine that, talagang mainit yan. So that is what you mean by conduction, by simply direct contact, or in other words, by simply touching. Okay? Touching it. Convection is the transfer of heat through a fluid, liquid, or gas caused by molecular motion. So if you notice here, the water is being heat up. So there's convection happening inside. And also, if there's a steam, if you're going to put your hands on top, dito sa area na to, you will feel the steam, no, yung warm air rising. So that is actually also an example of convection. Okay, convection yan. And for radiation naman, energy that is radiated or transmitted in the form of rays or waves or particles. Actually, So most students get confused between convection and radiation. If there's a source of heat, that is basically radiation. How liquid or gas reacts to the source of heat, which is radiation, is called convection. So for example, ito dito, we have liquid here. It warms up, there will be gas that will be present here, evaporation process. So that is an example of convection. Radiation basically refers to our source of heat, no? Energy that is radiated or transmitted in a form of rays or waves or particles. Siya mismo yung source. Doon nanggagaling yung heat transfer. Although yung common ng convection and radiation is that the heat is traveled or transferred through air. Okay? So, through air yan. Yan ang common nila. The difference is source, yung source nila. So, further example, if you are around a campfire, the heat that you experience is called radiation. But if you're going to put for example, yung hands ninyo, which of course you should not do, that is called convection. And of course, also example of cooking, for example, you have marshmallow, tapos ilalagay nyo dyan sa taas. Or you want to roast some meat. That is an example of convection. While conduction naman is basically placing metal and allowing heat to transfer through the metal until you'll be able to feel it. So basically there is touch between the source of heat plus the metal is called conduction. Okay? So yan ang ibig sabihin, basically the difference between the three. Again, in easier understanding of this diagram, radiation basically is referred to the heat around the heat source, while convection is when there is rising of air, of warm air. In this case, sa diagram na to. So, reaction yun ng air around the heat source, which is the fire. So, actually yung oven ninyo, if you have ovens in your house, no? If you have an oven in your house, if you notice that, even toasters, no, mga toaster, if you notice after some time, there's a certain rod that actually turns red. And this rod is actually called a resistor. Okay, so resistor yan siya. And the purpose of the resistor, it turns basically current into heat. So technically, it's like current trapped around this rod. And this is resistor. And heat is being present, no? Nagkakaroon ng heat, which basically gives off heat to the entire cooking process. And this type of heat transfer is called a radiation. Okay, sulatin ko lang ha. This cooking method is basically referred to as radiation, ang heat transfer dito. Okay, while there are actually ovens na may blower. Okay, meron kasi mga oven na may blower. It's either found sa side, at the back, or sa taas, on top. I mean, sa upper part ng area ng cooking oven. Okay. So, in this case, this is not called a radiation anymore. But in this case, pag may blower na ha, kasi nga, air, di ba? Yung air and liquid or gas kasi yun eh. Liquid or gas. Since may blower na, gas movement around the oven, so this will now then be called convection already. That's why some ovens are called convection oven. Okay? So yun yung base technically ang reason why. Okay? So I hope that you're able to understand the confusion between radiation and convection. Again, convection is once there will be movement of gas or liquid that has something to deal with heat, while yung radiation naman is the heat coming from the heat source. Okay? Through rays. Okay? Through rays siya. Heat and color. Where there is light, there is heat. Always remember that. So we have two sets of clothes here. We have the light colored one and the dark colored one. Have you ever heard your parents telling you or someone telling you, it's so warm, why are you wearing dark colored shirt? You should try to change one to, as much as possible. They will tell you to wear white. So the reason why is that sa light colored shirt kasi, it absorbs less light or technically reflects light. Thus, there is less heat. Ang nangyayari kasi once sunlight will hit your once sunlight touches your shirt, it yung mga may color kasi depende kasi sa color eh. Sa white, it technically reflects the light. Parang nagba-bounce back yung light. The light basically bounces back. So for example, it hits your shirt, the light hits your shirt, magba-bounce back lang siya. That's why paminsan if you see yung mga especially white shirt under the light of the sun, parang it's masakit sa mata. It hurts your eyes, no? Parang masakit. So it reflects light, thus it means that there is less heat. Pero syempre, because of the sun's energy, so kung may sun dyan, the sun basically transfers heat through radiation. Just to let you know. Okay? Heat transfer from the sun is called radiation. So, it bounces back. Yan ang nangyayari dyan. Pag light-colored shirt ang gagamitin ninyo. Some shirts kasi may bounce back less. No? May reflect light less. In other words, they still absorb less light at some point. Pero less pa rin yung heat. Compared to dark-colored shirt. Ang dark-colored shirt kasi absorbs more light, does not reflect light, especially yung mga black pag yung black shirt talaga. So, this concludes more heat, mas mainit. So, that's why if some people tell you to wear light-colored shirt, especially if it's warm, just do so. Kasi it's for your health benefit na rin yun. Baka something bad will happen to you, heat stroke bar in which we hope not to. Anyway, healthy naman kayo. So, again, so now you basically learned the difference between light-colored shirt and dark-colored shirt when it comes to heat absorption. Okay? Materials that don't allow heat to pass through easily are called insulators. Okay, insulators. Insulators. Kanina when if heat or electricity is or allows materials that don't that allow heat to pass through easily are called conductors yung kanina. Ngayon naman that don't allow heat or electricity to pass through easily are called insulators. So for example, we have this pot holder. So, sa kitchen, meron talaga tayo niyan because you don't want to touch yung mga, especially mga cover ng pinaglulutuan ninyo. You don't want to touch them directly else magkakaroon kayo ng burn, no? You'll experience at least a first degree burn. And this one good example of heat insulator rather, is yung meron tayo dun sa Metanoia sa school, yung sa third floor, if you notice that, na paminsan nasisira na lang because of the birds. So the reason why you have this here is to keep us from feeling warm once you get to the third floor. Okay? So this that's all this is what the lesson is all about lang. Conductors. So next lesson natin will be about how heat, light, and sound affect our lives. So anyway, for now, ito lang muna. I hope that you were able to learn something from this discussion.